Things have been going pretty bad for woke media in these past few years. Take it from Shane Smith, the CEO of Vice, who said, I believe in 2014, that in the next coming years there will be a bloodbath in digital. And we're seeing it. The latest news, Think Progress, a top progressive news site, has shut down. Now here's the funny thing. It's literally called Think Progress. It is a progressive news site. They've defended socialism. And people on Twitter on the left are calling it a center left. Okay, I just want to say something. There is the colloquial left and right, which kind of doesn't make sense and is kind of nebulous. So they're like center left as in it's not socialist enough. Okay, hold on. There's an actual scale, okay? When you look at the economic scale, the center is more, there's a tinge of capitalism across the whole spectrum except for as far left as you can go, where you get straight socialism, command economy, and as far right as you can go, which is laissez-faire capitalism. So no, Think Progress is not center left when they're calling out the Red Scare and talking about democratic socialism being a good thing. If you embrace socialism, you're actually far left, okay? And they're also, my understanding is they're fairly woke. But of course, it's not going to work. People don't like this stuff. Case in point, Dave Chappelle. Bill Maher, the other night, I think it was the other night, I don't even know what date it is. Bill Maher did a segment where he ragged on fat people. And I was actually surprised, but I do really like Bill Maher, except, I've criticized the guy for being, up in his ivory tower and talking about a recession being good to get rid of Trump. Get out of here, man. However, he did a segment ripping on the woke left again, and he does this all the time, and he says, why are we talking about government healthcare, universal healthcare, when Americans are stuffing their faces and eating junk? He actually swore. I can't swear. That's HBO privilege right there. But Bill Maher said, basically, healthcare wouldn't be an issue we needed to be talking about if Americans just stopped eating like pigs. And he's like, you've got people now praising people for being overweight. So anyway, the reason I bring up Bill Maher, and I don't want to go off on a tangent on Bill Maher, is because that's what Democrats, that's what people on the left are supposed to be about. You can be on the left and still be a responsible adult. Hey, I think universal healthcare is a great idea. Or what I should say is, public healthcare in some capacity. But Bill Maher's right. How are we supposed to do that when you got a bunch of people who eat Twinkies all day and they gain a bunch of weight and then they're sick all of the time? So this is the point. Okay, let's bring it back to the media and I'll read the story. Think Progress was being funded and nobody wanted to fund it anymore. Why? I think they're going to lose and they know it. Look, man. People were saying in 2016, this is the end of the Republican Party and Trump brings about the end, all that stuff, whatever. I don't know about that. Trump won. What I can say is Think Progress, gone. Okay? The Democrats fractured. All right? Joe Biden is the best they can do. And then they got Bernie and Warren. Let's read the story and see exactly what happened with Think Progress. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate. If you'd like to support my work, there's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. The best thing you can do, share this video so that I don't go the way of Think Progress. By sharing this video, you help me overcome the hurdles placed in front of me by YouTube because they derank independent political commentary. How fun is that? Let's read. The Daily Beast reports, Think Progress, the influential news site that rose to prominence in the shadow of the Bush administration and helped define progressivism during the Obama years, is shutting down. The outlet, which served as an editorially independent project of the Democratic Party think tank Center for American Progress, will stop current operations on Friday and be converted into a site where CAP scholars can post. So this is a Democratic Party think tank, and they're not going to fund this anymore. What does that say about Ocasio-Cortez and the progressive Democrats? It says they have no support. That's what it says to me. And Ocasio-Cortez, I've got maybe a bigger story, like maybe a bigger arc. Ocasio-Cortez is leading the Democrats down a dark path, which will be their destruction. And Trump knows it, and Trump's playing them like a fiddle. But you've got people coming out now saying, stop following these people. Look at Think Progress. This is a site that has said, the right is getting Venezuela all wrong. Granted, I don't know exactly what they're getting into in this. They may actually critique socialism. I don't want to be, overly critical without actually having read their pieces. But just a cursory glance. And they're like, Republicans keep calling Democrats socialists. The Red Scare is in full swing. It seems rather defensive of socialism. Here's a puff piece. These Democratic socialist women plan to transform Western Pennsylvania. Conservative media is freaking out over Ocasio-Cortez's primary win. You see, they take a position, whether they're actually in support of socialism, that's still rather defensive of it. When you see that they're not being supported anymore by the Democrats, then it looks like Ocasio-Cortez, a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists of America, who have voted on a resolution for open borders and health care for non-citizens and all that stuff. Open borders for sure. I don't know about the other one. Top officials at CAP had been searching for a buyer to take over Think Progress, which has run deficits for years. And according to sources, there were potentially 3 serious buyers in the mix recently. But in a statement to staff, Navin Nayak, the executive director of the Center for American Progress Action Fund, said the site was ultimately unable to secure a patron. Given that we could find no new publisher, we have no other real option but to fold the Think Progress website back into CAP's broader online presence, with a focus on analysis of policy, politics, and news events through the lens of existing CAP and CAP Action staff experts. Conversations on how to do so are just beginning, but we will seek to reinvent it as a different platform for progressive change. A dozen Think Progress employees will be losing their jobs, a CAP aide said, as many who were on staff and already gone to work elsewhere, and some were incorporated into the larger CAP infrastructure. Those who are being laid off will be given a severance package that runs through the end of November and healthcare coverage that lasts through the year, said CAP aide. As for the actual website, thinkprogress.org will continue to exist, but it will no longer function as an independent enterprise focused on original reporting. Instead, according to Nayak, it'll be folded back into CAP. You told us that already. Thanks for wasting our time. Let's read on. At its peak, there were few more important pieces of unapologetically progressive online real estate than Think Progress. The site combined original reporting with an attack dog mentality to target Republican lawmakers and conservative ideas. And I gotta say, I think it did a pretty bad job of it, as evidenced by its complete collapse. You know what, man? It's really funny. Think Progress is collapsing. Meanwhile, Human Events is on the rise. You guys know what Human Events is? Will Chamberlain, it's like a lawyer, Trump supporter. He's a friend of mine. And he restarted the Human Events conservative magazine as a website. And my understanding is they're doing really, really well. I think that says something. What I think we're seeing, as evidenced by my channel and my content, is that whatever conservative is today, it's actually become more moderate, and it's creating a space for moderates and former Democrats. You know, I did this thing with Steven Crowder. I was on his show, and he was asking me about, you know, the choice versus life argument, and I said I squarely fall on the choice side. And he said, okay, let me ask you. You've got the Democrat policy, which is abortion up until just before birth, which, yes, literally we have seen that pushed, or some restrictions, you know, safe, legal, and rare or whatever. And I'm like, why are the Republicans creating a space where they're like, okay, we'll be moderate? You know why? It's very obvious. They're paying attention. They know compromise is going to get them the victory they want, and they're willing to give a little to get a little. That makes sense. Smart move. Now you have former Occupy Wall Street activists voting for Trump. There was a story. I was reading this. I believe it was from like CBS or something. Maybe it was Fast Company. I don't know. Where they did a profile of former leftists who voted for Trump. One of the guys was an Occupy Wall Street activist in New York who decided to vote for Trump. I went to the Deplorable 2017 when Trump was getting inaugurated. And there were some people wearing, you know, MAGA hats. And they're like, hey, Tim, they shook my hands. And they're like, we've been big fans since Occupy. And I was like, whoa, really? How did you go from being Occupy Wall Street to Trump? Same reason Bernie Sanders voters flip for Trump. Yep, 12 to 18%, depending on your source. People don't like the free trade stuff. They like stronger borders. They like populist economic policy. Bernie Sanders was offering up all that stuff. And guess what? Hillary wasn't. So Trump was second best. Trump was offering, like, I'm going to help you guys out in rural America. And that spoke to a lot of people. So I look now at conservative media's boom. You know, Daily Wire is one of the biggest sources for conservatives on Facebook. Fox News is the biggest source. Occupy Democrats. That's what the left has to offer. Meanwhile, all these woke media companies are folding. Meanwhile, conservative medias are booming. You know, it's really funny. Going back to Human Events, check it out. I think they do good work. Admittedly, I'm biased because I'm friends with some of the people there. But you look at Think Progress collapse, Vice layoffs. You know, you look at Mike.com being sold. All of the I've made how many videos talking about the collapse? Gawker's not going to be relaunched anymore. There's infighting at Gizmodo, and conservatives are buying up old magazines and restarting them. It's really simple, man. You know, I think Progress collapsed and nobody wants to fund it because they live in a strange bubble world of Twitter. Seriously, they don't know what Americans want anymore. And so what's scary to me, what's actually kind of frustrating, is that here I am with very much the same principles I've always held. Center, left, moderate, you know, independent voter, leaning Democratic. And who's advocating for what I believe in? Conservatives? And it's not that conservatives have changed. No, there's still staunch pro-life conservatives. There are still very, anti-LGBTQ, like very traditional, hardcore conservatives. They still exist. The thing is, whatever conservative is, they are waving everybody over saying, come here. We believe in free speech. We want to hear your argument. We want to go on camera, do interviews. And the left is saying, get out. Get out. For me, I don't care about your tribes. I don't care about left or right. I care about what I believe in. So, I'm a big fan of Yang and Tulsi. Yang has had some missteps, and I don't agree with all of their policies. I think, I said this before, I really like Dan Crenshaw, and I like Tulsi Gabbard. I know people have been ragging on Crenshaw for a while, but I think when it comes to the commander-in-chief, service is extremely important. But anyway, I digress. The right in this country, whatever the right is, has no problem welcoming in dissenting opinion and hearing it out and being like, okay, fine, we'll compromise. And I think it's twofold. You've got former Democrats who switched for Trump, who actually demand that space, and conservatives recognizing they need that to win. Trump supporters recognizing they need that to win are saying, okay, fine, as long as we win, right? Because at least then you get some of what you want. The far left has gone nuts. They're advocating for open borders. I'm not exaggerating. The Democratic Socialists of America voted on a resolution recently saying they want open borders. Ocasio-Cortez is a card-carrying member. She deflects, oh no, I don't want open borders. Like, come on, dude, you're a member of the DSA. We know what you're all about. California votes to give non-citizens health care. Every Democrat on the debate stage at CNN on the second night raises their hand for giving non-citizens health care. So what happens? You've got a lot of people in this country who just say, I don't want anything to do with that, right? And then the conservatives are like, well, at least we're compromising. And a much better point. Think progress collapses, okay? It's done. Gone. Fox News bringing on moderate and democratic voices. They hired Donna Brazile. They had a Bernie Sanders town hall. Trump was mad about it because Fox knows that they're able to form a massive coalition by bringing in left-leaning moderates. So they're creating a space for it. They're saying, we're going to hear you out, and we're going to bring in some people to represent your voice. You might not like Donna Brazile. You might think her opinions are bad. You might be angry about, what she did with Hillary to steal from Bernie. But I'll tell you this, Fox News is opening up that space to say, we're going to bring on someone to speak for you. What is the left doing? Get out now. That's all I hear. Look at Marianne Williamson the other day. You see the video on my main channel? Check it out if you didn't. Poor Marianne Williamson. She is such a sweetheart. And I really mean that. She's on the debate stage saying, we need to get away from this negativity and embrace love and kindness. And I don't care if you think it's silly. Maybe that's not the kind of strength we need in a president. Fine. But I tremendously respect someone who's saying, I'm not going to engage in personal attacks, even against Trump. And she said in an interview, I don't need to talk about Trump's character because his character speaks for himself. And I'm like, that's pretty good. Like, I can respect that. You're trying to say, listen, I don't want to play the orange man bad game. I personally don't either. I don't, and they get mad at me, Tim, why don't you make more videos about orange man bad? I don't care. Dude, you want to hear orange man bad? Turn on CNN. You get your fill, okay? You don't need it from me. And I still rag on the guy fairly often. I want to talk about things that are being ignored. I want to talk about what matters. And what I end up seeing is, for some reason, Fox News brings on Bernie Sanders for a town hall in Donna Brazile, and MSNBC screeches at the top of their lungs for 3 years about the Russians. You're nuts. You've lost the plot, man. CNN, I don't know what they're doing. But I will say they're all being led by the nose by Ocasio-Cortez and the far left because she's shocking and generating attention. But it's not going to be enough. Regular Democrats in this country will not vote for that if they're paying attention, okay? You can lie to them and you can trick them, but here's the thing. In order to get a moderate Democrat to vote for a far left, whatever these weird Democrats are doing, you've got to manipulate them. You've got to lie. Unfortunately, top progressive news sites shutting down. Meanwhile, conservatives are launching new sites, and they're doing well. Take a look at my content. I'm a moderate. We launched Subverse to explosive fanfare, $1 million in 22 hours. That's what we raised. It was a little bit more than that. And Subverse is just like we're getting away from the politics. It's just on the ground reporting straight news, cutting the politics out. And people love it. And to everybody who invested, thank you so much. Because they're tired of it. They're absolutely tired of it. So if apolitical content is emerging in the wake of whatever this is, conservative content is expanding, Fox, the #1 channel on cable, bringing in, Trump's actually mad that they've moved a little moderate. It's because Fox knows. Fox is looking at the market and they're saying, we can now capture every Democrat that was kicked out of the left by these lunatics. You see how they treat people like me? People who are desperately trying. It's really fun. I get comments all the time where they're like, Tim, just accept it. You're not on the left anymore. I don't care about what the tribal left is. I care about my policies, and they're very socially liberal, center left. But so many people are like, why won't you just say it? I'm like, dude, I am trying harder than anybody to not be forced out of my principles by a group of lunatics. But I'll tell you, it's really difficult because they don't offer up any arguments. So I'm sitting here looking to my right, looking to my left. I know a bunch of stuff. I read all day. So then I hear some arguments from the right and I say, actually, X, Y, and Z. Like, for instance, PragerU put out a video where they said, without God, there is no morality. Morality is an opinion. And he says, how do you know that murder is wrong? And my response is, without God. Well, it's because I don't want to be murdered and I feel pain when other people get murdered. And so I want to stop that. It's a negative feeling. You see, I can argue. But then the right comes back with better arguments. Like when I was talking with Crowder and I go, that's a really good point, Crowder. Let me think about what the left's counter. Oh, there's no argument from the left. Why? Because they told me to get out. They kicked me out. Instead of saying, Tim, here's what we think about X. And me going, that's interesting. I didn't hear that. They're not arguing at all. They're just saying, leave. So what ends up happening is you have a lot of people who are just standing there being attacked and insulted by the left while the right says, come over here, buddy. I got a beer waiting and we can have a talk over at this bar. I talk about some of the activists that I've known who were very staunchly like pro-Bernie and how they got berated and insulted for being white and things like that. And they're like, why are you yelling at me? And then all of a sudden, just to their right, were Trump supporters like, ignore those mean people. Come over here, have a beer. And they did. And then they get their ear talked off by conservatives saying, here's what we believe and why. And they go, oh, those are good points. And they look back and the person says, get out of here, you stupid Nazi. We don't want you on our side anyway. And they're like, okay, fine. And that's how you get Trump. And that's why, the New York Times recently published this story saying, don't think Trump something like, don't think Trump can't win 2020. His base is bigger today than it was when he got elected. So we'll see. Hillary Clinton, for all her faults, she was a bad candidate, but she was better than what they have now. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Think progress collapsed. Surprise, woke media has been dying for a while and conservative media is expanding. So what do you think that means? Whatever this weird, nonsensical, ideological far left stuff, it's just dying because they have no strong leadership and they're eating themselves. They're attacking their own and ripping each other to shreds. So be it. Next segment will be at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you all there.